What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about 5 guitar trends in 2025 that I don't think you can ignore. When we think of guitar, we think of rock and roll, obviously, right? At least I do. And this is probably my most rock and roll guitar. This is my Gibson SG Junior with one of our dog ear P90s in it. And it's rock and roll, man. This to me, distilled down, is like what guitar is all about for me personally. It's just a single pickup guitar, just kind of punk rock, and I just love something like this. But the problem is, I don't know if it's a problem, up how we engage with this hobby, with this love of music, with guitars. And so, because of AI, because of Bluetooth, because of Wi-Fi, because of all of these various technologies, it's going to change some things. So today I want to talk about 5 guitar trends that even if we've been playing for a long time, or if we've just started off today, I think we should pay attention to them. We're going to give you a couple of pros and cons, and then we're going to kind of talk about how we as guitar players might be able to adapt to this stuff. Before we get started, do me a favor and do the 2025 thing and hit the subscribe button and the like button if you like guitar stuff. Sometimes we talk about how pickups are made and guitar setup and that kind of stuff. And sometimes we just kind of get your thoughts on things like today, these 5 trendy things. Let's jump into it. I've got them right over here. First things first, I think this has been kind of controversial lately because of a couple of new products that have just come out, but I think Bluetooth and otherwise internet connected gear is definitely a trend. I know that folks that have been playing guitar for a long time kind of have a hard time with this. If you are newer to the guitar world, you probably have seen many things connected. Televisions, I think my refrigerator is connected. Like there's all kinds of stuff. My oven, everything's connected, right? So we have certain things like, okay, this is a little extreme, but I've got this Seymour Duncan hyper switch here. I just found this in my drawer this morning. I forgot about it. It's actually a 5-way switch that goes into like a Stratocaster style guitar that Bluetooth, then with your phone, you can actually choose how the switching on your guitar works. It's wild. I did a review on it quite a while ago, and it actually works really well. It's super cool. So you have something like that. We have something like the Boss plug-out effects, right? Where you can put, I don't know, what is this, like 16 different effects in the pedal at once, and then you can just easily toggle between a bunch of different effects. So it's like having an entire library of Boss effects, one at a time, of course, but you can choose between them. So if I want to use a delay, I just click like this and boom. If I want to use a compressor, I just click over here like this and boom, there we go, right? So it's pretty cool, and you can manage it with your phone, and you can manage it with an iPad or your computer or whatever. And it works pretty well. I really like it, actually. The thing is it just kind of flies in the face of everything we know as traditional guitar players, right? To be able to, or to have to, or to have the option to, because not all these things force it, to connect a hardware device to a phone or an iPad or to the internet or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or whatever. What are the pros and cons of something like this? Well, the pros are you can have an entire 16 different pedals, for example, in this, and be able to switch back and forth. So you have a bunch of options in a smaller package. You can do all your fiddling around ahead of time and then not have to mess with it here, and then just kind of switch back and forth between whatever. The same thing with this. Once you get it set up with your phone or whatever, you can have options that you really couldn't have before, and it makes connections and things digitally, or I don't know how it does it actually, but it makes it to where you could have combinations that you couldn't have with just wires in a guitar, which is pretty cool. So options, size, packaging, all those sorts of things, and kind of accessibility to various tones and sounds that you wouldn't normally have can be a thing. The other pro to this is the community that comes with it. So once you're in the ecosystem with a particular product, a lot of times you're going to have availability to other users and you're going to be able to learn from other guitar players. Some folks don't like that, but a lot of folks really care about that community, especially in 2025, because it's kind of how we operate, right? From day to day is in a lot of these various communities, and you get to learn from each other, which is pretty cool. Now the cons are that you have to fiddle with this stuff. The cons are that in order to make a bunch of changes, you do have to plug it into something. You do have to mess with something. Once it's set, it's okay. But some folks just don't like to have to do that, right? Some folks just don't want that. Some folks just want to twist a manual knob on an amp and a pedal and just call it good. But the reason we need to pay attention to this stuff is because it's coming and it is here. And pretty soon we're going to start to see, and I think we've already started to see, the number of options of this kind of stuff growing and real analog stuff kind of shrinking. So I'm not saying that it's the end. I am very optimistic that there's a lot of very cool things coming that are analog and very normal, but we just have to face the fact and really think about the fact that we can't ignore that it's here. Technology number 2 that I think we cannot ignore is going to be the digital modeling amp in some sort of way. There is going to probably very soon going to be a large number of AI models that you'll be able to shape tone just by telling it what you want. But for now, we have cool stuff like this, like the Positive Grid Spark Mini, where you have an app on your phone and you get to shape the tone and then be able to just use this and play. I love this thing. I play it all the time. There are other things like the Kemper Profiler that has a bunch of different amp tones and various profiles that you can use with various digital effects and all kinds of things in a little box. So we're talking literally about hundreds of sounds in this little box, right? The other one I was going to mention is the Tonex. So this is an interesting one because this has the same sort of thing, right, as this. And then, of course, it comes with this other thing that you can actually hook up to an amp. So this is the capture box. So you can hook this up to an amp and then basically steal the soul of your amp and put it into digital form and be able to then take it with you wherever you want to go. So all of these things make it to where we can have all these various sounds. I know that it's not a tube amp. I know that it is not a stack of speakers sitting behind us, but we can't ignore it because it's here. And what are the pros and cons? Well, the pros are, how many sounds do you get in a little box like this? The availability and the flexibility to be able to record. I use this every day. I love this thing. The same thing with the Tonex. It's kind of a different version. It goes about it a different way, but it's very similar in respect to that. And then, of course, we have more and more, as they continue to hit the market, have more and more budget options, right? This is only a couple $100, and it does a lot of neat things with the software behind it. So having those options. Now, the cons to it are, a lot of folks will say tone because they're going to feel that it doesn't sound the same or feel the same as a real amplifier in the room. And to be honest with you, there is nothing like having a speaker behind you and playing really loud, right? However, the pros are, another pro is the availability to play in a place like a living room or a bedroom or an apartment or a condo where we can't play really super loud, right? The other con to it, though, is option paralysis. Sometimes the learning curve on something like this can be a little steep, and you can end up kind of playing around with knobs more than you end up playing around with your guitar, actually playing music. So this is where you kind of have to lean on one of the pros again, and that's the community surrounding each of these devices. Various brands like Axe-Fx, Kemper, Tonex, Line 6 will have their own communities that you'll be able to lean on, be able to learn as fast as you can. But there is a learning curve to it, right? Because it is a computer. So that kind of is a con. But getting back to the point of this video, why we can't ignore it, it's here. It's here. And I believe, this is just an opinion, but you get in the comments and let me know what you think. I think the majority of new products in the amplifying space, making our electric guitar louder space, is they are going to be digital in nature, or some blend thereof, or AI, or something over the next few years. I really think that the majority of new releases are going to start leaning this way. There will always be a contingent of folks, including myself, who always want some sort of tube amp. I do realize that, and there will always be companies that do that on a niche basis, but I really think the majority of the new releases that we see starting now and on into the future is going to be digital in nature. Trend number 3, and I think this has been going on for quite a while, but I've been seeing it more and more, and I've actually been a part of it, obviously, because we make pickups here at DylanTalksTone, and that is starting to lean on and going more towards boutique and smaller builders. You know, obviously we have Gibson and Fender and PRS and Ibanez and ESP and all those big brands, right? But you have smaller companies that are doing very, very, very good work. And as the world market, as we start talking about, you know, the international market having more trouble with various costs going up and this and that, I start to think about things like in wherever you live, wherever that is, looking for smaller builders that you can support to keep them going. So like in the United States, obviously, looking for companies like, you know, companies like this. So this was made in conjunction with Texas Toast Guitars. Of course, it has our pickups in it that we make here. Those kinds of things. I think it's really cool to support companies like that. As costs go up, it just makes sense, right? To be able to support smaller companies that are doing really, really good work, because what's really cool is the technology that only the bigger companies had for many, many years, and those traditions and stuff are now becoming more and more available to smaller folks. And I think that's really cool. So support your local builder, support your local pickup builder, pedal builder, guitar builder, and even if he's not local to you, just in the country where you live, whether you live in Australia or you live in Europe or you live in Asia, look around for somebody that is a smaller builder that you could support. And I think that's pretty neat. Trend number 4 I want to talk about is alternative materials for making guitars and other instruments. This is an extreme example, right? This is a McPherson Touring, which is their kind of travel guitar, but it's all made out of carbon fiber. This one's actually really cool. It's got a camouflage top on it. So we might not need to go all the way to carbon fiber to illustrate this point, but it's what I had around. Because of availability of woods, because of costs fluctuating and manufacturing and various things, the normal traditional woods that we see, so mahogany, ash, alder, maple, those kinds of woods, are going to be very common, obviously. We're going to still use them, but we're also going to see other woods, especially in less expensive guitars, in our entry-level and mid-level instruments. We're going to see a lot of different alternate materials, I believe. We're starting to see them already, but I think it's going to continue because, like I said, availability. Once we start looking at costs going up on things, we need to figure out how to keep it down, which means using easier to source woods. So if you start shopping for a guitar and you see a wood or a material that you're not familiar with, that's not kind of one of the big 4 or 5 that we're normally used to, don't worry. It'll probably be super cool, and it will probably just give you an alternative to something that maybe even if you've never heard of it before, is going to be just fine. These 4 things, I know we said there was 5, but these 4 things were kind of things that I've noticed, that I've seen, and that I was looking at as I'm researching for this video on the internet. The 5th one, I want to leave up to you. What do you see in 2025? And here's, coming in 2025 and beyond, that is a guitar trend. Now, this could be a guitar trend that you don't necessarily like. Maybe it's something that you hope for. Maybe it's something that you want, or it's something that maybe you're worried about. Let me know in the comments, And what we're gonna do is the one that's mentioned the most. If you see somebody else's comment that you like, if you see somebody else, you're like, you know what, I agree with that, put a like next to it. And the most liked comment, kind of the most popular couple of ideas, maybe we'll form a podcast around it and we'll talk about those things because you are the folks that input, you know, this fifth idea. I think it's really important to talk about because we are the guitar players. We are the ones that are making all of this happen. So I want to get your thoughts on this. This is just not just about me. At any rate, I do think that these 4 things that I brought up are things that we should pay attention to. Whether we like them or not, they're here to stay. That being said, I know a lot of these were centered around technology. Make sure that you don't get too wrapped up in the technology and that you just play guitar. Because playing guitar is really why we're all here. If any of the things that we talked about today make you wonder about something, make you have a question about guitar stuff, put that in the comments below too, and maybe we'll make a video about it. Because that's what we do here at DylanTalksTone. I make pickups. That's what our real job is. But also, we talk about guitar stuff here on this channel, and we help people, you know, learn how to get the best out of their guitar. Thanks for hanging out. Do me a favor, like and subscribe and do all the things that you do watching a channel like this on YouTube in 2025, and we'll see you in the next video.